This video is copyright. Welcome to Wisdom Education Services. So now we are going to do weighted average. In the last 4 videos, you must have gone through the deviation method. Well, we are going to go totally away from that right now. We will be doing the simple weighted average method, which you must have done in your high school as well. So what happens? Let me take an example here. Let's suppose I have these 3 numbers. Let's suppose these are the weight of 3 boys that I have, that is 20 kg, 20 kg and 20 kg. And let's suppose these are the weight of 2 girls that there are in my class, that is 40 kg and 40 kg. So in order for me to calculate its average, normally I would find the sum of items by adding 20, 20, 20 and 40 and 40, then dividing it by total number of items. So I can see here that there are 5 items, so dividing the sum by 5 I would get the average. Perhaps what happens when the number of people with the same average tend to increase more, so that it is hard for you to find the average. So then what you can do is, this 20 is occurring 3 times, so you can calculate its sum by multiplying 20 by 3. So your sum would be 20 into 360 for this people here, and 40 times 2 would be for these people here. Hence your total sum would be 20 times 3 and 40 times 2. Then dividing it by 3 here plus 2 here. So I can calculate the weighted average as 3 times 20 plus 2 times 40, dividing it by 3 plus 2. Now let me take a quick recap here again so that I can show you. Just let me get a color. Okay, so let's suppose I have 3 boys in my class. Let's suppose these are the boys and these are the girls. The average weight of the boys is 20 kg. So that means each boy has 20 kgs of weight, and the average weight of girls is 40 kg, which means that each boy has each girl has 40 kilograms of weight. So we have to add the sum of all the boys and we have to add the sum of all the girls, dividing it by the total number of students in the class. So as we can see here, every boy has 20 kg of weight. That means 3 boys on in total would have 20 times 3, this much weight, and the 2 girls would have 80 kilograms of weight. Adding the total sum, dividing it by total number of members, we get our average. As we have discussed earlier, that average is the sum of items divided by total number of items. So we can say that the upper part corresponds to the total sum of items, and the bottom part is the number of items. And I hope this is pretty clear, because it's a pretty simple example and you don't need to worry about it too much. So let's solve some questions related to weighted average. Let's see what we have here. Okay, this is again another method. So let's see. I would just go ahead and summarize my point. It says that if the average of n1 items is a1 and the average of n2 items is a2, and it goes on and say the average of nk items is a of k, then the average of all the items put together would be the average. Now this would give you the sum of all n1 items. This would give you the sum of all n2 items. Similarly, going on, each particular particle will give you the sum of each item, and adding all the sums we get the total sum here, and dividing it by the total number of items we get our average. Now you must have done a lot of sums like these in your high school examination, so this is no different. It's just you have to put that back in your memory. So let's go ahead and do some questions on it. So okay, here is the first question. Let's say we have 30 numbers. The average of first 12 numbers is 18 and the average of last 18 numbers is 12. We have to find the average of all 30 numbers. Now this can be done through deviation as well, which would be pretty easy. But since we are learning what weighted average is, so I'm going to do this question by the weighted average method. So by doing it through the weighted average method, see, I have this 30 numbers here, and their average is what I have to find out, and the average of first 12 numbers is 18. Since the average of 12 numbers is 18, their sum would be 12 times 18. So this is the sum of the first 12 numbers. So we can see here this is the sum of the first 12 numbers, and the average of last 18 numbers would be 12. Hence their average would be 18 times 12. So their average would be 18 times 12. Hence this is the sum of the first 12 numbers, and this is the sum for the last 18 numbers. So adding the total sum, this would give us the total sum. Now this would be our total sum. Since this is the total sum, and dividing it by the total number of numbers. Now how many numbers do I have? Now I have 30 numbers as is given to me in the question here. So I've got 30 numbers. Now let me calculate. Let me go ahead and calculate the average. It's 12 times 18 plus 18 times 12 divided by 30. So calculating it, I would get my answer to be, so what is 12 times 18? 12 times 18 is 216, right? Again, 18 times 12 would also be 216, guys. Dividing it by 30, I would get 432 divided by 30, which would be nothing but 14.4. So my answer would be 14.4. So let me take a quick recap here again. The recap was that there are 30 numbers, and the average of first 12 numbers is 18, and the average of the last 18 numbers is 12. So I have to find the average of all 30 numbers. So the average of the first 12 numbers is 18, hence the total sum would be 12 times 18, and the average of last 18 numbers was 12. So the sum was 18 times 12, and adding all the sum and dividing it by 30, I got my answer as 14.4. I hope everyone understood this. So we're going to do a similar kind of problem because it's a very easy point, so all the problems would be kind of similar. So this question says the ratio of boys and girls in the class is 1:2 if the average height of girls is 156 centimeters and that of boys is 174 centimeters. We have to find the average height of all the students in the class. Okay, so it's really easy. See, since boys and girls are in the ratio 1:2, which means that out of every 3 parts, 1 part are boys and 2 parts are girls. So out of every 3 parts, 1 part are boys and 2 part are girls. And out of this 1 part, the height of the boys would be 174 centimeters, and the sum of girls would be 156 centimeters. Now this here is the sum of height of girls. This here is the sum of height of boys, and this portion here gives me the sum of the class for every 3 students. For every 3 students, this is going to be the sum of class. So if I add it, that gives me the total sum of the class for 3 students. So dividing it by 3, I would get this to be my average, right? So let me go ahead and calculate that for you. So it's 174 centimeters plus 156 by 2. Now there's an easy way to calculate 156 by 2. Just split 156 into 2 parts. The first part would be 150 and the second part would be 6. So 150 times 2 would give me 300, and 6 times 2 would be 12. Adding that, the sum will come out to be 312. Now dividing it by 3, that is what I have to do right now. So 174 plus 312 would be, let's say, 474 plus 12, that would be 486. So as I can see here, the sum of digits here is divisible by 3 because it's 18, hence the number would be divisible by 3. So dividing 486 by 3, I get my answer to be 162 centimeters, right? So it was just an application of weighted average, a straight application. I didn't need to find anything else. Out of every 3 students, 1 was a boy and 2 were girls, so the height of girls was given and the height of boys was given. So what I have to do is just apply that into the formula, or just simply use simple knowledge, simple basics to calculate the answer. So let's go ahead and move to the next question. Now in this question, a boy scored 50%, 60%, 70% and 80% marks in 4 subjects. Now the maximum marks of these 4 subjects are in the ratio 1, ratio 2, ratio 3, ratio 4 respectively. So we have to find the aggregate percentage in all 4 tests put together. Now guys, if this ratio is not given to you, you will not be able to find the answer. Why? Because 50% can be 50 out of 100 and it can be 100 out of 200. So it is very critical for us to have the maximum marks ratio, because it tells us the average. It helps us to find the average actually. So 4 plus 3 7, and out of every 10 parts, the 1 part goes to the maximum marks in the first subject, 2 parts go to the maximum marks of the second subject, 3 parts go to the maximum marks of the third subject, and 4 parts go to the maximum marks of the fourth subject. So how much did he score in the first? Was 50%. So dividing it by 50 will give me its total sum, and 60%. So multiplying it by 60 would give me its total sum. And same again here, I'll just multiply it by 70, and same here, I multiply it by 80, right? So this is what would be the total sum. The adding of all the parts would give me the total sum of the marks that the student scored in 4 subjects, and this would be here. This would be my total sum. So let me just go ahead and calculate my total sum. I hope everyone understood the problem here, right? So the total sum comes out to be 50 plus 120, that's 170, plus 210 and plus 320. The total comes out to be 700. Now this is the total marks that he scored, and dividing it by the 10 parts, because 4 plus 3 plus 2 and plus 1. So dividing it by the total parts, this is what my total parts are, 10. So now my answer comes out to be 70%. Okay, now my answer comes out to be 70%. So let's take a quick recap here again, that a boy scored 50%, 60%, 70% and 80% in 4 subjects. So we had to find the maximum marks in 4 subjects, that is, we were in the ratio 1, ratio 2, ratio 3, ratio 4 respectively, and we had to find the aggregate percentage of all the 4 tests put together. So out of every 10 parts, first part goes to the first subject and goes on to the next subject. So what I did is I just multiplied the ratios with the aggregate percentages and divided it by 10. So that gave me the aggregate percentage. I hope it's clear to everyone. Let's go to a next problem here. Okay, so we don't have any next problem. So this is the end of 0.5 of average, that was weighted average, and it was a pretty simple. You can even use deviation methods instead of weighted average, but sometimes weighted average would give you a quicker solution, and so you should know it as well. So for more practice on the 0.5 of weighted average, you should visit to www.education.wisdomimmigration.com, or just contact this number for more details and more resources. So this is 0.5 of average. So see you next video. Thank you very much.